When you're grading the tape, does Malik Heath get extra credit for not retaliating after taking that guy out to the parking lot?
Yeah, that was exciting for us as coaches. Just the play style that we're looking for, the way, and he did it all game. I thought he was very aggressive. Matter of fact, I thought the play style as a team was really good. In particular, at the wide receiver position, you know, blocking's not always the sexy thing to do, and you guys love to give me crap about coming up here when I talk about guys blocking, but that's an important part of our offense. So, and a lot of those guys had some key blocks on some of those touchdown runs. You know, Bo Melton on Wilson's first touchdown, and then on Goodson's touchdown, Wicks had a great block there at the goal line as well. So I thought all in all, the receivers did a really nice job blocking.
Matt, are any of those other injuries long term? I think it was Jones, Tenuta, Valentine, and Goodson.
Tenuta is probably going to be the longest, I would say. So I'm not quite sure where everybody else is at, but it doesn't seem quite as serious as Tenuta's.
Matt, Zach Tom had a pretty good showing at right tackle. Obviously, really good pass set on Love's touchdown. Are you ready to name him your starter at right tackle, or is it still ways to go?
I think we still got a ways to go yet. Certainly, we've got 2 more preseason games. This is going to be a big week for our guys in terms of just, it's going to be the most exhausting week of the preseason for these guys in terms of we got, you know, practice today, practice tomorrow, walkthrough on Tuesday, then we'll get 2 practices versus the Patriots. So then you got 2 more games. So I think we got a long way to go yet.
Is he a guy that you need to have on your line somewhere, whether that's center or right tackle, or what does he need to do to get to that point?
Yeah, potentially. Like I said, there's a lot of ball in front of us, and we'll let these guys battle throughout the course of training camp. And quite frankly, you can never get rest easy in this business. As soon as you do, somebody passes you up. So whether it's throughout the course of the preseason, we get into the regular season, you know, may the best man win.
Today or tomorrow?
We will be tomorrow, yes.
And at what point do you think Rashawn can do some team stuff?
As soon as Flea gives him the green light.
Is that this week, you think?
I don't want to make any predictions on that. I doubt it, but we'll see.
On Emmanuel Wilson, I asked Goody last week about the number 3 back and what it takes to get that job, and he basically said everything besides running the football. So how is he in those other things? We've seen him run the ball, but how is he pass pro and catching and all that stuff?
Yeah, those are areas that we're going to have to see, you know, improvement. And not that he's done a bad job. It's just you want to see the consistency of that. Obviously, whoever the third back is has to have a role on teams. I mean, I haven't been on too many teams where they're not a key contributor in that facet of the game, and that's usually that's a big learning curve for a lot of young players, especially when you're a star player at your school. You're not getting a lot of those reps, so we got to put him, you know, in those situations in practice, and hopefully he can continue to improve and grow and, you know, be a force there.
Think of the play, the secondary, you know, got a couple picks. I think it was 13, you know, breakups. A couple guys hustling for some jump balls out of bounds. Just they got after the ball a little bit.
Yeah, I thought our guys did a really good job of playing tighter coverage, challenging the receivers more, you know, playing physical. So I thought there was a lot of good out of that. And again, it's one game. You know, it's not like they had Jamar and T and Boyd and all those guys out there, so you'd like to see it, you know, translate from our practices and go against, you know, some of the top tier competition in this league before you feel really, really good about it. But I thought those guys have shown along the way, you know, that they will challenge, they'll compete, and they got to continue to do that.
Like what you saw from Brenton Cox watching the tape back from Friday?
Yeah, he did a nice job. I thought there was a few moments where he got pressure on the quarterback. Obviously, got his hand on Dalen Levitt's interception, which is a big-time play. So hopefully he can continue and build upon that. And like I said, we got a lot of opportunities this week with 4 practices, 4 legitimate practices, and then the game.
You've had Austin Allen since late last season. What have you made of his progress with you?
Yeah, I think Austin's done a nice job. I noticed him a little bit on teams as well, and one play that stood out to me was we ran an inside zone with a cross sift where he did a really nice job of throwing his face on the defender's legs and coming across formation, cutting them down, and so he's going to get more opportunities now, especially with TD being out, and he's got to take advantage of those.
What did you think about Tarvarius Moore? I know he had a couple of really impressive tackles, but everything else, what did you see there?
Yeah, I thought he did a good job. I thought he was physical. He was the second man in many cases, and being very physical, and I thought it was a good first step for him, and he's got to continue to do it, not only on defense, but on teams as well.
First ever game action for Kenneth. How have you seen him progress, just coming from knowing nothing to over the past summer?
Yeah, it was pretty cool. Typically, we don't give out game balls post-game, but he did get a game ball. I thought that was worthy of it. First ever game, and the guys have really rallied around him and supported him, and he's such a, he is top shelf in terms of character, and I'm sure you guys have had an opportunity to talk to him and can see it firsthand. So he has definitely learned a lot, and I think there's a lot more to learn, but he's been a good addition to our team.
What's your level of concern about your experience now at a complicated position at tight end? Does that mean you may have to make adjustments in what you do with your offense at that level?
Yeah, I think everything's on the table. I know Goody and his staff are going to keep their eyes open in terms of if there's an opportunity out there. And quite frankly, you're always making adjustments as a coach in terms of who you have from a personnel standpoint, and that's just the nature of this game. And you got to try to do your best to put your best product out there. And if that's how we have to proceed, then we'll adjust that way.
There's a saying out there that you learn a lot about people when you travel with them. What is something that you learned about your players this weekend heading to the Bengals that you didn't know beforehand this training camp?
I wouldn't say anything in particular. I just think that it was good to see them to gravitate to one another and get an opportunity to hang out with each other. The one thing that showed up on tape, which you're never quite sure until you get into those games, is that I thought there was a different play style than we've seen maybe here in the past. I really thought these guys were attacking it the right way, really in every phase, which we're really pleased with. But again, it was one game, and we got to continue. That's just should be the first step in the journey, and it needs to keep improving. So we'll have a great test this week against a team that I think is as respected as anybody in terms of how they coach their guys and what they've been able to accomplish over the years. And so it'll be another good test for us.
With Clifford, obviously Clifford had a great game, but then he also had the 2 picks. How do you, as a guy who's coached quarterbacks for a long time, how do you coach that out of him without ruining who he is as a player that made him so productive in those other 24 games?
Yeah, I was most impressed, and I think I said this post-game, just with his ability to bounce back. So you throw an interception. I think we went next series, we had a turnover on downs, and then he has another interception, but our defense did a great job of playing complementary football, getting the ball back for us in a 2-minute situation, and he took advantage of it and made some big-time throws. And I thought it was a good first step for him. Obviously, the quarterback's number one job is to take care of the football, but I don't think you can put all that on him. On the first interception, he had pressure in his face. Certainly need him to make a better decision there. Would rather him take a sack. And on the second one, quite frankly, it was not the right read, so I'm not, giving him a pass there, but we've got to attack the football better too. And I like and appreciate the fact that he gave Tucker an opportunity, but Tuck also has to run a sharper route and come right back to the quarterback and attack that when it's in the air, much like Malik did on what we call a scout route earlier in the game. So, but I thought just in terms of his ability to be resilient and bounce back, you don't always see that, especially from young players. And he's a competitive dude, and it's not a secret as to why he had so much success at Penn State and was a starter there for so long. So hopefully it's a good learning experience for him in terms of just where his eyes need to go on every play. And but I thought there was much more positive than negative from the game.
When you went back and watched the film, what did you think of Jordan's 2 possessions?
Like I said, post game, I thought there was a lot of good, and there's things that we can learn from. You know, the one pass for sure he would love to have back to Musgrave. Maybe put a little bit more touch on it, but he threw a pretty firm ball in there, and you know, the screen as well is something that we talked about where it got deflected, and a lot of bad things can happen, as we saw with us when Cox got his hand on a ball. Sometimes those end up as turnovers. So just being able to retreat and maybe put a little touch on that throw. But I thought, all in all, I was really impressed by just how he handled himself out there. He looked confident, looked like he was in total control, and it's a good first step for him. And we got to build on it this week, and it starts, quite frankly, today in practice, and then every other day.